Castillo. I am a retired Army veteran and currently a community volunteer with AARP. It is my privilege and honor to be part of this virtual event honoring our Vietnam veterans. With the many military installations in this state, it would stand to reason that Virginia would have a large population of veterans. Currently, there are over 726,000 veterans in Virginia. 67% of those are over 50, and many of those are Vietnam veterans, including myself. Since 1958, AARP has supported many medical initiatives and legislation impacting people 50 and over. So it was only natural that AARP would expand its efforts to meet the needs of veterans. And we're not just talking Vietnam veterans, we're talking veterans of every war from World War II to the present, as well as their families. Many, if not most civilians, are unfamiliar with what military personnel have experienced. We're not just talking about the service member putting himself or herself in harm's way. We're talking the entire military experience, the combat deployments, the moves, the separations, and the different levels of care that service members need as they age, as well as their caregivers, who in most cases are their dependents. Tonight, we are privileged to have music provided by Mr. Charles Cannon. Additionally, we will hear from some Vietnam veterans about their military experiences. Tonight's presentation will also focus on such topics as services that are available through the various Veterans Administration medical centers. You're going to get some information on caregiver support, as well as suicide prevention and information that is available through AARP. As attendees, you can submit your questions through the chat capability on your Zoom screen. However, we ask that you remain muted until a host unmutes you. And be advised that we will be recording the session and streaming it on Facebook and YouTube for those who are not able to join our Zoom presentation today. Our thanks to all the veteran service organizations and representatives joining this meeting. I hope you find this program informative. And again, thank all of you veterans and dependents for your service and sacrifice. And now I would like to turn this over to Mr. Charles Cannon.
Greetings to all you Vietnam veterans out there. And I just want to take this time to say thank you for your service. Thank you for your sacrifice. My name is Charles Cannon. I too am a veteran. I spent 22 years in the Army. My wife and I actually, she served as well. We actually met during the first Gulf War in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. Our kids are both veterans. In fact, our oldest son is a pilot in the United States Air Force. I just want to say thank you. I can't, for paving the way for us, for giving us just an awesome example of serving your country, an awesome example of serving your country at a time when our fellow countrymen didn't really understand and didn't really appreciate the sacrifices that you made. So I want to say thank you. And I want to tell you that I really appreciate, from the bottom of my heart, from me and my family, appreciate your service. I want to play a song for you. It's called America the Beautiful. Thank you for your service.
Deaths from Alzheimer's disease and other dementias increased 16% during the coronavirus pandemic, according to the 2021 Alzheimer's Disease Facts and Figures Report. That's an additional 42,000 deaths compared with the averages over the previous 5 years. Among people over 85 who died of COVID-19, Alzheimer's disease was listed as one of multiple causes of death for 8%, and vascular or unspecified dementia was listed for 20%. Some 6.2 million Americans 65 and older are living with Alzheimer's disease. The $1.9 trillion COVID-19 relief package includes money to assist hundreds of thousands of veterans across the country who lost their jobs during the pandemic. The package includes $14.5 billion for COVID-19 vaccine distribution, telehealth options, and other services. It also includes $1 billion to waive co-pays charged for VA healthcare and prescriptions during the pandemic. That's your AARP Minute.
Hello, good evening. My name is Janaea Luck, and I'm the Associate State Director for Community Outreach for AARP's Virginia State Office. Happy Vietnam War Veterans Day. We salute you and thank you to all our Vietnam veterans. It is truly my honor and pleasure to work with all of our wonderful volunteers and community ambassadors of AARP, and I thank you, Mike Distilio, for your service. Also, it is truly my pleasure to introduce many of the wonderful community partners that will join us this evening. So again, please put in the chat, in the Q&A, any questions that you may have for these wonderful individuals. It is now my pleasure to introduce you to our guest speaker. Our guest speaker this evening is Colonel Alexander Williams, a native of Chesapeake, Virginia. Mr. Williams retired from the Army in June 2014 after 30 years of military service. Mr. Williams is the son of the late Alexander Williams Jr. and Genevieve Williams, both of Chesapeake. He graduated from Indian River High School in 1980 and commissioned Second Lieutenant Transportation Corps from Hampton University in 1984. He later received a Master of Science degree from Murray State University and a Master of Science degree in National Resource Strategy from the National Defense University. During his culminating assignment in the Army, he served as Division Chief, Readiness Division, Army Material Command in Redstone. It is truly my honor and pleasure to introduce Mr. Alexander Williams, and now he will share his personal salute to all Vietnam veterans. Thank you.
Janaea, thank you so much for that outstanding introduction. And I appreciate and honor any opportunity that I have to share with my fellow service members, specifically the Vietnam vets. I call them my Vietnam vets. I share my appreciation for what they did. Thanks for answering the call. You answered the call when our nation's leadership decided that our freedom and democracy was at stake, a very important time in America. I'd also like to thank all the service providers that are on the presentation this evening. I appreciate what you're doing for the Vietnam veterans, moreover, the entire veterans community across the board. So I only want to take a few minutes of your time so we can get down to the real reason that we came here, which is to understand the different programs afforded to us by the VA as well as AARP. I want to talk directly to my Vietnam warfighters, those warfighters who served this nation with distinction. Many may not realize, but this is a fragile yet important population of men and women that's decreasing and shrinking on a daily basis. So every chance that you get, make certain that you hug a Vietnam vet. If you see somebody with a Vietnam veteran's hat on, make sure you spend some time with them to make them understand that we appreciate what they've done. I personally appreciate and salute my Vietnam veterans. So when I looked at Vietnam and the details of Vietnam, some astonishing numbers stood out to me. During that war, over 9 million servicemen and women served. 2.7 million of those served directly in Vietnam. Of that 2.7 million, 40 to 60% of them were in constant conflict with the enemy. That's 10% of our population. So 10% of our population actually served during the conflict. So I call that America's top 10. For that 10%, made certain that the 90% of us could share and enjoy the freedom and democracy that we serve today. So again, thanks to your outstanding service members for answering the call. A little bit more detail, 66% of those individuals were actually drafted. I say again, 66 were actually volunteers. 33% were drafted. The status didn't matter, yet they still served. And then again, we say thank you. They served in a conflict, as Mr. Cannon said earlier, they served in a conflict that was not fully and understood or supported by the American people, And today, Vietnam still remains one of the sore spots in our history, especially how we treated those individuals when they returned. Now, not everybody was treated unfairly. Not everybody was treated poorly, but one treated poorly was too many. You've often been blamed, when I say you, the Vietnam vets were often blamed for a war that they did not start, when you should have been commended for serving your country with greatness. Everybody imagine, if you will, with me for 1 minute. You're 17, 18, 19 years old, sitting in your home in America. Now you join the service. You're in that nation of Vietnam. Many people did not know, many of them didn't even know what Vietnam was on a map. You were laying your life on the line every day for a nation or a nation of people who did not understand what you were doing. And for that, we say thank you and we appreciate what you were doing. Now, if I think about that for a minute, I spent 30 years in the military. And when I think about that, that's a sore spot still within my spirit, because I can't imagine fighting for a nation of people that did not understand what we were doing or appreciate that. So we owe every service member here, every Vietnam vet, an abundant amount of gratitude for what they did. Now, we can't fix the problems, or we can't fix what happened back then, but we're trying. What we're doing, we've decided that March 29th, or it's been, our government has approved March 29th as the day that's set aside, and it's considered Vietnam War Veterans Appreciation Day. Thanks, and through it all, you still serve. Now, when I think about it personally, I look at Vietnam vets like Charles Williams, Garland Ronnie Williams, Reginald Williams, and of course, my name is Alexander C. Williams. Those three gentlemen that I just mentioned are my uncles, and I stood on their shoulders because I served because they did. I remember in my grandmother's house, their mother's home, their pictures hung high in the dining room. And I was proud to say that those are my people, that's my family, and I'm definitely gonna join because of what they've done. Many of you, or many of the Vietnam vets that are on the Zoom meeting today, you may have never heard that from your family, but I guarantee you, down to the person, your service has impacted somebody as you stood tall in your uniform back in those days. You made your family proud. And I bet you, just as I did, some of your family members, some of your nieces, nephews, cousins, sons and daughters made the decision to serve because of you. Be proud of that. And I know many folks are still struggling with the fact that they served in Vietnam. For putting your life on the line, again, we say thanks. I can't say thanks enough. So as we provide this tribute, our nation is trying to give back. We're giving back by services that you're going to hear about today. We're giving back by having people like Ms. Luck, Ms. Foster, Dr. Farrow, Ms. Ramos in place, providing support to our Vietnam vets. Please take advantage of these programs. These programs have been put in place for people like you and myself. So if you feel strange, don't worry about that. If you feel like you're off kilter a little bit, don't worry about that. Call somebody, talk to somebody. Don't hesitate to do that. That's why these programs are there. So now to each of you, as I close, our leaders today are still standing on your shoulders. We stand on your shoulders through the lessons learned from Vietnam that we're still applying today to our tactics and techniques. We call those TTPs in the Army. So those TTPs that we learned in the Army from you, we apply them to make our warfighter better. So we still stand firmly with you. And I know that neither one of us will fall because we're all strong. So I'm proud to have served in the military. I'm proud of your service. As I close, take care of yourself. Make sure you take care of your family, but most of all, take care of yourself. I salute every Vietnam vet. Thanks for what you did. You answered the call. Thanks, Janelle.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Nicole Ramos, and I'm a social worker with the Central Virginia VA Healthcare System. I'd like to wish all of our veterans and their families a happy Vietnam Veterans Day. Thank you all for your service and for your sacrifices. I'm excited to be speaking with you all this evening, and I'll be sharing some information about the role of many of our social workers at the VA hospital, and also how you can get connected to VA healthcare services. So for those veterans who are registered at a VA facility and assigned a primary care doctor, there are social workers assigned to help you if you're having any questions, problems, or if you need help connecting with resources. So one of the ways social workers help is by providing education about advance directives. And if you've never heard of what an advance directive is, this is a legal document that allows you to write down preferences regarding medical treatment and end-of-life preferences. So social workers can help you explore what your healthcare goals are based on your own values, beliefs, and preferences. Social workers can also help you connect with community resources. So for example, if you become housebound and you're having difficulty getting to the grocery store to access meals, social workers can help you explore home delivered meal programs. Another example is if you're feeling isolated and you want to find out about activities in your community. Social workers can help you find ways to socialize by exploring local senior centers, parks and recreation, or adult daycare programs. Social workers can also become involved in discussions around long-term care planning, which is a very important topic to think about in advance. As we're aging and some of us are dealing with disabilities or illnesses that will require long-term care, it's important to explore options before crisis happens. So you can receive long-term care services in the home, in the community, or in a facility. And social workers can help you explore these different options and how you can live as independently and safely as possible. And if you refer to the slide, you'll see some other ways that VA social workers can help. So moving on to the next slide, I wanted to highlight a couple of helpful websites located at the top of the slide that I encourage you to jot down and take note of. On these websites, you can learn about things like VA healthcare, including how to apply to see if you're eligible, and other topics like mental health, housing, job and employment. There are also stories of recovery, and there's even more topics that you can explore at your leisure. And moving on to the next slide, eligibility for VA healthcare depends on a number of different factors. So if you've never applied for VA healthcare, but you want to know if you're eligible, You can apply online, by phone, or in person at a VA medical facility. And I encourage you to take note of the website and contact information listed on the slide to find out more information about your VA healthcare. I'd like to thank you all for this time. And next, I'm going to close out by playing a short video with an overview about VA healthcare.
Did you know nearly 6 million American veterans have chosen VA healthcare? More than a quarter of all veterans, and many more may be eligible? Did you know VA provides healthcare exclusively to veterans and their families? And 1 out of every 3 employees of the Veterans Health Administration is a veteran? No one understands your needs better. Did you know VA facilities outperform private health, Medicaid, and Medicare on key preventive care services such as cancer screenings, diabetes care, and cholesterol management? Your VA health team is dedicated to helping you achieve optimum health throughout your lifetime. We do this by giving you access to locations nationwide and bringing care to you through mobile clinics, vet centers, and telehealth services. We do this through innovation, connecting you to your healthcare team through secure messaging, mobile apps, and 24/7 online access to your medical records. And we do this by being leaders in the use of medical technology and pioneering new, smarter ways of delivering care. VA offers a full range of healthcare services to men and women. Whatever your needs, we are here to help you. VA healthcare also satisfies the ACA health coverage requirement. Applying for VA healthcare is easy. You'll receive your enrollment status within 7 days. Find out how you can benefit. Explore VA today.
Hello, my name is Kimberly Foster, and I'm with the Caregiver Support Program at the Hampton VA Medical Center, where our director is Dr. Takisa Simmons, and the program manager for the Caregiver Support Program is Tina Brown. On behalf of our Caregiver Support Program at the Hampton VA Medical Center, I would just like to salute all of our Vietnam-era veterans and to say a special thank you for your sacrifice, your dedication, and your commitment to serving our country. Thank you once again. And I also like to say a special thank you to our hidden heroes, which are those that provide care for our Vietnam-era veterans. Thank you so much for all that you do, and truly it is an honor to work with the Caregiver Support Program. And this program is a program that is designed to provide care and support to our caregivers. So if you are a caregiver, please listen attentively to this presentation. And if you have any questions or you feel like you could benefit from our program, please reach out to your local VA Medical Center and ask to speak to a caregiver support coordinator. So for the purpose of this evening, I will be speaking to you about the program of comprehensive assistance for family caregivers. So an overview of the Caregiver Support Program. This program is actually divided into 2 sectors. You have the program of General Caregiver Support Services, which is known as PGCSS. And you also have the program of comprehensive assistance for family caregivers, which is known as PCAFC. So both of the programs provide support to caregivers through education, training, supportive services, the promotion of inclusive care, and also linkage to community resources. Now, one of the key differences between the 2 programs is PCAFC provides a stipend to veterans who qualify for the program, and we'll talk a little bit more about the criteria of admissions for that particular program. Okay, so here we are talking about some of the benefits, and some of the benefits of a caregiver being enrolled into the comprehensive program is education and training. And some of the educational services include Building Better Caregivers, which is an online support and training program for our caregivers. Not that you need training, because we know that you are excellent in the provision of care for our veterans, but it's designed to enhance the skills that you already have. It also helps you to focus on making sure that you're taking very, very good care of yourself. So that's an online program that is offered through this program. Peer support and mentoring is also offered. So you can get connected to a peer, someone who may have had some of the same situations that you may be dealing with, and they can offer support to you during your caregiver journey. And that can take, could last during a period of 6 months actually. And then we have other resources as well, telephone support groups where you're on a call and you're learning skills and you have an opportunity to talk to other caregivers similar to yourself. And then, so there are a couple other programs, and feel free to reach out to your caregiver support program to get additional information. But also, if you're in this program, you can gain access to healthcare insurance. And of course, that's for our caregivers who are otherwise uninsured. Mental health counseling is also available. We talked a little bit about that financial stipend. Some enhanced respite care is also an option. Per diem compensation for travel if a veteran has to go from one medical facility to another VA medical facility for care. There could be a reimbursement for travel, as well as financial planning and legal services, which are not in place as of yet, but they should be in place in the very near future. All right, so let's talk a little bit about the eligibility criteria for PCAFC. So the individual must be a veteran or a member of the armed forces undergoing a medical discharge. The individual also must have a serious injury that occurred or was aggravated in the line of duty on or after September 11, 2001. So that's our post 9/11 era veterans, or on or before May 7th, 1975. So that would include some of our Vietnam era veterans. So at this time, the program is only open to post 9/11 veterans and those veterans that served on or before May 7th of 1975. The individual must also have a service-connected rating of 70% or more. The individual must also be in need of personal care services for a minimum of 6 continuous months based on the inability to perform activity of daily living. So when we talk about inability to perform activities of daily living, we're talking about dressing or undressing yourself. We're talking about requiring assistance with bathing, assistance with grooming, maybe feeding yourself, and that doesn't include meal preparation, but that's actually if the veteran requires assistance with the actual process of feeding him or herself. Toileting. And so when we look at the ADL care needs, this is every time this activity is performed. So this wouldn't include a veteran that, let's say, has a back injury, and some days he has good days and some days he has a challenging day, and he may need assistance on those challenging days. This is someone who has an injury and they need consistent support on a daily basis with that particular ADL. All right, and then also one of the criteria is the individual needs supervision, protection, or instruction in order to live independently or within the community setting. And it also must be deemed to be in the best interest of the individual to participate in the program. So this is a 39-step process. It's a large process, and it starts at your local VA medical center, but it goes outside of the VA medical center to a team called the CEAT, and they will make the final decision. And this process can take up to 90 days to be determined to be eligible for the PCAFC.
Next slide, please. All right, so how to apply. This is one of my favorite slides here because my favorite Vietnam veteran is here. That's my father. And I salute my dad for his service and his contribution to our country and his 21 years of military service. And I, of course, salute the caregiver that provides his care, who is also one of my heroes, which is my mother. And so thank you, Dad, and to all your fellow Vietnam War veterans. And so how to apply for the Caregiver Support Program. One, we definitely encourage the online application process. You can go to www.caregiver.va.gov, and you can apply right online. And it's the application, I believe, is 5 pages, but it's only 2 pages that need to be completed, and you have to fill out information regarding the veteran as well as the caregiver. And then that application comes directly to our VA Medical Center, and the processing of the application begins pretty quickly upon receipt of the application. You can also go on that website and you can download an application and you can mail it to our HEC Center, the Health Eligibility Center, and the address is on your screen. And this information, again, is on the website. And if you need this information, feel free to call your local VA Medical Center and ask to speak to a member of the Caregiver Support Program, and that individual would be able to give you this information as well. So again, you can apply online, you can mail your application in, or you can go to your local VA Medical Center and you can apply. We are asking for appointments only if you are going to go to your VA Medical Center to apply due to COVID restrictions. And so again, the website is www.caregiver.va.gov. There's also a caregiver support line. That number is 1-855-260-3272. And you can call that line if you have any questions. You feel free to call that line, and an individual is there manning that line, and they can answer any questions, and they can put you in contact with someone at your local VA Medical Center. Or feel free to give your local VA Medical Center a call, and you can just ask to speak to someone in your local Caregiver Support Program. So again, a special thank you to our Vietnam era veterans. This program has just recently opened up to you, so I'd strongly encourage our caregivers and our veterans to reach out to see if you are eligible for our program. And so next, I have the honor of introducing O.C. Fiddler. O.C. Fiddler is also with the Caregiver Support Program. And remember, I told you there were 2 sectors, the comprehensive program and the general program. And O.C. is going to give you some information on the general program. And thank you for your time.
Thank you. I'm sorry, I'm the one that didn't unmute. But thank you, Kimberly, for introducing me. You know, I was going to do that all along and then come right to it. I didn't. But anyway, I'm with the General Caregiver Program, and it is a really good program. I would like to thank all of you Vietnam veterans, and I would like to say a special thank you to your caregivers, because the caregiver, this is what this program was developed for. So next slide. The mission of the General Caregiver Program is to promote the health and well-being of the family caregiver who cares for our nation's veterans through education, resources, support, and services. Our vision is to serve caregivers through a wide range of support, education, and tools that empower them to care for themselves as well as the veteran. It's always important to take care of yourself before you take care of others. So next slide. With this program, it's different, whereas you don't have to be service connected to be involved in the program. The veteran must be enrolled at the VA. There's no clinical eligibility. We don't require you to do an assessment. We won't come out to your home for home visits. And then we do provide education, support for the provider, to the caregiver by the program coordinator. So with the education, one of the things that we do is we offer you different groups, like a telephone group that you can join with other caregivers, and that's usually we offer 6 sessions in that. If you are, don't want to be involved in a group setting, you could always choose to do individuals. So we have what's called Reach VA Individual, which is 4 sessions, and that's for different eras. We have one that is considered all eras. We can work on PTSD, dementia, and ALS. Caregivers could be the veteran taking care of another family member that's also a veteran. So next slide. So the 4 core elements of our program is education and support. We do provide that education and support for the caregiver. The program, again, was developed just for the caregiver. So what I usually tell my caregivers is, if something arises and you need some help, please give me a call, because one of the things that we do is we help them navigate the VA system, and then also we help them navigate the community. If we can't find something within the VA to help them with, we might look on the outside. Some of the things could be, of course, this program doesn't come with a stipend or money, but we could look at resources that could be available to the caregiver for resources, which could be, are you eligible for aid and attendance? What is your income limit? Could we look in the community to see if you're eligible for Medicaid, which might provide respite and more services for your veteran? We do collaborate with other people in the community to develop partnerships. We do a lot of outreach to places within the VA, within the community, just to educate them about our program, because it's relatively new, so that they can refer the caregiver to our program. And again, we do provide resources and referrals. So next, I would like to introduce our suicide prevention, Dr. Farrow. Thank you.
Thank you, OC, and good evening to everyone. So I'm a licensed clinical psychologist who provides support for the suicide prevention program at Hampton VA Medical Center. And as a part of the VA's national strategy to end veteran suicide and suicide within our communities, it's really important for us to bring awareness to the issue of suicide, particularly as it relates to our nation's veterans. Also, as the daughter of a Vietnam-era veteran, it's doubly important for me to support the mission of our suicide prevention program by helping everyone to understand the importance of prevention throughout the facility, but also throughout the community. So the suicide prevention program supports veterans, the caregivers, their families, friends, providers, area businesses, and educational authorities. We even work with law enforcement, families, and others who are supportive of our veterans. We know that Vietnam veterans often experienced several issues that are related to their military service, as well as other veterans, but those things contribute to unique needs for their health and intervention services. So 18% of all deaths that we have by suicide are among US adults or actually veterans, which places our veterans at a higher rate of suicide risk than anyone else. But we also know that approximately 65% of all veterans who die from suicides are age 50 or older. So that's right around that Vietnam veteran age. Our veterans are more likely than the general population to use firearms as a means for suicide. And on average, there are approximately 764 suicide attempts every month from veterans who are receiving VA healthcare services. We also know that 25% of them have had a history of previous suicide attempts, and that there are a number of different factors that can contribute to suicide loss. Next slide. There are several factors that increase the risk of suicide for older veterans, so it's important for us to consider those unique characteristics when we're coordinating care and our suicide prevention efforts. So we know that compared to younger veterans, our older veterans who have completed suicide are more likely to have medical problems and have psychological problems such as depression, but they're also more likely to die by firearm and less likely to have a history of previous suicide attempts. So what does that tell us? Well, it's important for us to be mindful and aware of the warning signs that are there and to take any statements about suicide seriously and engage in appropriate strategies such as lethal means counseling to help deter the risk. Many common stressors might be things like medical problems and issues or loss of a loved one. So the last clinical contact is often in either inpatient medicine or outpatient medicine. However, there are often challenges for us with engaging our patients in treatment. So we want to make sure that we can meet our veterans where they are because they may not even be connected to VA facilities. Next slide. It's going to be important for everyone to recognize the warning signs of suicidal thinking. And those would include things like hopelessness or feeling like there's no way out, anxiety and agitation, sleeplessness or mood swings, feeling like there's no reason to live, or even experiencing extreme emotions like rage or anger. Things such as engaging in risky activities or increasing the use of substances like alcohol or drugs, but also withdrawing from family and friends. All of those things can be signs of suicidal thinking. Other factors can be present as well, such as chronic pain or mental health problems or relationship difficulties. So it's really important for us to pay attention. Next slide. The presence of any of the following signs requires immediate attention. So if a veteran or someone else is talking about or thinking about hurting or killing themselves, if they're looking for ways to die, if they're talking about death, dying, or suicide, or are engaging in self-destructive or risk-taking behaviors, especially as it relates to alcohol, drugs, or weapons, those things require immediate attention, and you'll want to usher them into care, whether it be going to your emergency department, your local VA, ER, or even getting help from law enforcement so that they can be evaluated. You can also contact a Veterans Crisis Line who can provide additional information. And I'll show you some information about the VCL in a bit. Next slide. We encourage everyone to take SAVE training, which provides more in-depth information about how to identify and assist a veteran that may be at risk for suicide. Our SAVE training can be found online or even via live monthly trainings that are provided by the VA Medical Center. Our trainings at Hampton are held virtually on the third Monday of each month, but you can also find SAVE trainings and other resources on the Veterans Crisis Line resource locator that we're going to see in just a bit. Next slide. The Veterans Crisis Line is a wonderful and valuable resource. It is 24/7 manned coverage by licensed clinicians. You can reach it via phone, by text, or even online chat. But they're available for anyone to call if there's a veteran or someone else experiencing suicidal thoughts and ideations. Our suicide prevention team follows up on every consult from the VCL within 24 business hours. So we do make sure to reach out to those who might be high risk. Next slide. In addition to the Veterans Crisis Line follow-up, suicide prevention teams also offer a number of different ways to support our veterans and providers, as well as the community. So we provide consultation and clinical intervention. We do individual and family support. We perform telephonic wellness checks to monitor symptoms and to ensure safety, identifying resources that are available, and even providing post-vention support, which is the support that is given to caregivers, family, friends, and providers when someone dies by suicide. We also engage in training and education, and we make sure that there are materials out in the community about suicide prevention, but also to promote resources such as the Veterans Crisis Line if it's needed. So outreach and awareness is very important. Next slide. We at Hampton are a multidisciplinary team of individuals that support all of the suicide prevention efforts throughout the facility, but there are also teams throughout the VA system. So every facility has a suicide prevention program. But you can reach us if you're in our area by contacting us via phone or via email. And next slide. Your local suicide prevention coordinator can also be located with the VCL resource locator, and that is found on the website here. And lastly, in addition to the suicide prevention coordinators, you can find SAVE trainings, crisis centers and providers, as well as VA Medical Center facility locations. So by accessing the services that are provided by suicide prevention, we hope that every veteran is able to get the help that's needed and the support that's needed most in times of crises or trouble. Thank you so much for all that you do, and thank you for giving us the opportunity to be of service to you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Farrell, and thank you to all that have shared this evening. It's my pleasure to share a little bit about the resources that AARP provides on the aarp.org website. First, during the pandemic, we have really dedicated a significant portion of our website to COVID-19 information, as well as COVID-19 vaccine information. We also have a Community Connections webpage that will help you find mutual local aid or be connected to a friendly voice. Next slide, please. AARP has a long history in supporting our veterans. We currently have over 4 million AARP members who are veterans, but do know that all of AARP's resources are free, whether you are a member of AARP or not. We encourage you to stay connected with us because this information is important for you, your family members, as well as your friends and neighbors. We work very hard to provide timely information, timely programming, and also information that you can trust. And our key areas are in family caregiving, fighting fraud, as well as helping our military and veterans connect to new careers, works, and jobs. Also financial security and preparing to save for retirement. Next slide, please. Please take a look at AARP's job board. Online, we have a lot of different resources about free resume assistance, as well as connecting our military to job skills translation, insight for part-time work, flexible work, or work from home opportunities. Also, we work very hard to do a lot of virtual programming, so stay connected with us on aarp.org/veterans. Next slide, please. Also, AARP works with a lot of our community volunteers to deliver fraud information, Fraud Watch campaign. Our Fraud Watch campaign has really taken off in making sure that we are providing information to our veterans, military, and their families because, unfortunately, they are twice as likely as civilians to be targeted by con artists. So again, the Operation Protect Veterans campaign has been going on for a few years now, and we're very proud to support in working with our community partners on a nationwide level to make sure that we are putting a stop to fraud. Next slide, please. I really would like to stress and encourage you to go online and download a copy of our military caregiving guide. It has really been a great resource for all of my friends and family members. My father is also a Vietnam era veteran, and it is a one-stop shop to help me call, find the numbers, find the organizations that can help connect him and my mother to different organizations supporting him. So again, you can call for a free copy of our military and veteran caregivers guide, or you can go online at aarp.org/veterans to download a copy for yourself. Next slide, please. And here are all the websites that I was trying to mention, but also do know that our free caregiving helpline is 1-877-333-5885. Again, 877-333-5885. If you are a caregiver in need of information in your town or your state, or even if you're trying to help a friend that lives in another part of the country, call our helpline to be connected to trusted resources in the community to help support you, whether it's respite care or local nonprofits. But again, it is a very good resource. We also have a lot of different resources available also on social media. There is a Facebook group for family caregivers. So again, stay connected with us. Definitely know that you don't have to be an AARP member to receive this information. I did see one of the comments on our Facebook page. That was one of the questions. Do you have to be a member to get connected to AARP? Absolutely not. We welcome you. And we also are looking for volunteers. So if you're interested in volunteering with AARP Virginia, definitely reach out to us. I have one question for our panelists that also came through the Facebook chat. This individual, she says, my 89-year-old mother is being released from a rehab on Wednesday after contracting COVID. I will be her caregiver in our home. She was married to 2 veterans. Is she eligible to receive any veterans benefits? Any one of our panelists able to help answer or direct this individual to the correct places to go?
I could speak to that. My recommendation would be to reach out to the Veterans Benefits Administration. That's a 1-800 number, and correct me, Ms. Ramos, is that 1-800-827-1000?
That's right.
Okay. The VBA is 1-800-827-1000, and someone there would be able to speak with you. We don't necessarily handle benefits at the local VA medical center. However, the Veterans Benefits Administration should be able to provide information, or you can also reach out to one of your local veteran service organizations. And so that would be your Virginia Department of Veteran Services, or your DAV, or your American Legions, and they may be able to answer that question for you as well. Did I miss anything, Dr. Farrell or Ms. Ramos?
I think you've covered it. Thank you so much, Kimberly. Also, I see that there is another question in the chat for our panelists. Is there a special training for wives with husbands suffer from PTSD?
So within the caregiver support program, there is Reach VA Services. And within Reach VA Services, there are specialized programs. So one of the programs that training is offered in is specific to caregivers who are caring for veterans who are diagnosed with PTSD. So some of the supports and trainings and the education is specific to PTSD. Also, if the veteran is receiving any type of mental health services at the VA hospital, sometimes those providers will bring caregivers in as well and work with the caregivers. And then, of course, one of the services that OC spoke about so well a little bit earlier was the fact that part of what we do in our program is that we help connect our caregivers to resources. So if this is a caregiver and she feels that she could benefit from maybe some counseling so that she can process some of the things that she feels she needs to process, or he or she needs to process, and in providing care for a veteran that has PTSD or has been diagnosed with PTSD, then we can get them connected and get them linked to a provider within the community to offer some assistance or counseling interventions for that caregiver.
Thank you so much, Kimberly. I am again encouraging everyone on Facebook or in our Zoom chat or on YouTube to pose any questions with our panelists this afternoon. But as you are thinking of your questions, we're going to turn it over to Mr. Charles Cannon to have him bless us with a little bit more music this evening.
I'd like to dedicate this song to all of the Vietnam veterans. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Cannon. Thank you. Such beautiful music to again salute all of our Vietnam veterans and their family, as well as all of the loved ones of those that love Vietnam War era veterans. It is now a time for us to take a few more questions. If there are any questions for the panelists, please put them in the chat or on the Facebook. I am trying my best to monitor 3 devices right now, and we will answer your questions if, again, time allows. If there are no questions, we also are fortunate to share a mini documentary saluting Vietnam veterans. I'm looking at all devices and we don't have any questions right now. So let's cue the video.
In Miami, Florida, a group of African-American Vietnam veterans is sharing stories and healing the damage of war. Battling racism abroad as well as at home, African-American soldiers endured the worst job assignments in Vietnam. Many surrendered to the hardships associated with undiagnosed post-traumatic stress disorder, or PTSD. The war left permanent scars for some: alcoholism, spousal abuse, depression, and the inability to reconnect to society. When the Vietnam War reached its height in the 1960s, African American men were called to serve in record numbers. Primarily recruited from the Jim Crow South, these young men left the battlefield at home for an uncertain future in a land far away.
It was a very unique time for Black men. You had African American leaders like Jesse Jackson, Martin Luther King had gotten killed before I went to Vietnam. You had Muhammad Ali. You had all these Black civil rights leaders speaking up about the war in Vietnam. I'll never forget Muhammad Ali said that there's never been a Vietnamese ever called me the N-word. So that stayed in my mind a long time because I was concerned about fighting the war for America, and all of our Black leaders were sort of against the war in Vietnam.
Always military was on my mind. Even I knew what I was going to do, where I was going to go when I graduated. I was just going to wait for the summer to be over before I went and enlisted, but I received my greetings from Uncle Sam, and I didn't want to go in the Army, so I went and joined the Marine Corps.
So for those 2 months prior to going to Vietnam, we were working 12 or 14-hour days, getting medical equipment, supplies, stretchers, making sure our military vehicles were fully loaded because we didn't know what we were going to face when we got there.
Most of my buddies were going in the Army, Marines, and other branches. But I went in the Air Force. I had uncles and cousins in the Air Force already. And so I went in and went through basic and went through tech school and got stationed in Orlando. And then I was there for about 7 months and I went to Thailand for a year.
6 boys went to the military, 1 didn't. The baby didn't go and everybody else went. But me and 3 of my brothers went to Vietnam.
I got drafted. I was playing in the band at the time. And my partner, who was my best friend at the time, was the drummer of the band. He told me, he said, we're going to go into the buddy system. So me and him got on the bus to the induction station down there and tried to volunteer. But which we did, and we signed in. And I mean, we got sworn in. And after we got sworn in, we've come to find out that he had committed a felony, and he couldn't come in. And I told the sergeant that I said, well, since he can't come, I want to get this other year off of my time. He said, it's too late now. You're already part of the military because you've been sworn in. And you can imagine what I said.
I had some close friends of mine that got killed in Vietnam. And when I got drafted, I got very nervous about going to the military because I knew that at some point they would send me to Vietnam. And I had all kind of thoughts at that time, going to Canada to get away from it. My parents and my family was very nervous about it. I said to myself, well, I might as well go ahead and serve my country. I didn't know if I was going to live or die.
Barely 18 years of age. Maybe my first flight, and it was a long flight from Texas to Tonsanute in the train. And nervous. The flight itself made me nervous, not knowing what Vietnam was really about and the dangers of what to expect. I was more nervous than anything in the beginning on the way over, and I just thought about family and just trying to accept what it was I was about to get into and just do the best I could to get back home.
But that was a way that all black soldiers greeted each other, showed admiration, showed love for each other. That was one of the most powerful experiences that I had in terms of the unification of the black man. It was almost like an African ritual, how we came to each other, stood in line to give each other a tap, a dap, and how important it was for us not to overlook that. My brothers from Miami, Chicago, New York, Los Angeles, Texas, they all had a different dap. but we all adjusted to that gap. And that gap was one of the most beautiful things to me that I'll never forget.
We're talking about the 60s. I worked tobacco, cotton, and so I had a lot of exposure to the Jim Crow setup. So I was prepared for it. You know, I live around it, I live with it, in a sense. So I knew I had survival skills.
The racism I experienced was in Fort Polk, Louisiana, because this white guy that from Fort Lauderdale, who we became close and our family became close. We went to each base camp together. We went to Fort Jackson together. We was together. We went to Fort Gordon. We was together. Used to spend weekends in town. And then when we went to Fort Polk, Louisiana, when we went to town, it was a lot of, we couldn't be together because they would fight with the blacks and we had to be separated. So what we did, after several weeks, we just stayed on the base because they used to bring in busloads of people from churches and things, and we would have dances and things. So we didn't go to town anymore because we weren't allowed to be close friends, white and black, not back in 1967 in Fort Polk, Louisiana, unless you want to get whooped.
For the first time in my life, I was exposed to racism in such a way that I couldn't really understand it, but it happened in my basic training. Actually, there was some issues there between some Latinos and different other groups of people. I was a peacemaker, but because of my background, I thought that since I was the one that initiated peace and trying to calm things down, why should I be punished? So I refused to do that footlocker drill because I felt I was doing the right things. They should be rewarding me, I thought. But anyhow, I was punished for that. I spent my graduation day cleaning the grease pit. Taught me a lesson, but it also made them realize that I stood up for what I believed in.
When I got to Vietnam, I was stationed up at a base called Khe Sanh up in the North Vietnam, up towards the DMZ, where I saw a lot of action, but also experienced racism even within my platoon. You know, when we're in combat, we're a firefighter, whatever it was, we were all together. But when it was over, we separated again, and it didn't make sense. Okay, and it was also confusing, you know, especially to a young man, you know.
Racist Southern boys and black boys ain't gonna get along. So I'm saying you have problems in the rear area, but in the field, it kind of tamped down, you know, because I could save his life and he could save my life.
PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder. I'm gonna tell you exactly what that is. When a person have an experience over and beyond the normal experience and shatters their psyche, their waking, sleeping, dreaming state of consciousness, their ability to concentrate and contemplate. When you shatter that, that's what PTSD is.
You know, you get back, you do your best to adjust, you know, and when you see a lot, you grow up fast. When you're 18 and you go places and see things and do things you normally wouldn't dream of. So you're a different man. I was a different man at age 20. You know, I did my time when I was 20 when I got back. I turned 21 after I got back here. But I wasn't the same kid that left by any means.
This term just come about in the last, it was like shell shock. You was crazy and you stayed away. You isolated, the general public isolated themselves from us.
I didn't know about PTSD until about 35 years after. I was in my 50s when I started support groups like I'm involved now. And I heard my comrades who were in Vietnam talking about all these symptoms I started to say, oh, I got it. You know,
I must have been maybe, I'd say maybe in my 30s or 40s when I found out. I'm 69 now. So for a long time I carried it around, and I think the only time I actually really got involved in expressing it was when I came to this group.
You just can't recover with the time that you lost. So you just do what you have to do. But there's so much loss, family, wives, lives. And it's like the Army cavalry, now the cavalry comes. After Fort been burned down, there's no one left.
Now that I look back, I had PTSD in Vietnam because I remember the first time I was called a boy. We had some kind of misunderstanding. He called me a boy. And next thing you know, I picked up the M16 automatic and I fired at him. I don't know what happened, but he didn't get hit and I didn't get court-martialed. You know, so I could definitely say that I think I had PTSD then in Vietnam.
I was on a mission again. Black dark out there. I got up in a sleepwalk. And I was walking out in the boonies. And before I got to my own trip flare, I stopped to say, what are you doing? What are you doing? And then I backed up. And I went back and laid down, and I didn't go to sleep that night. I knew that a war had had a lot of effect on me then.
A Viet Cong pointed AK-47 within inches of my face. And I thought that was it. And right after that, I started feeling these sensations. And I've been too embarrassed to say it, but since I've been going through treatment, I can say it now. They characterize it as tactile sensations. I don't know if you heard of that. You know, feel things crawling on you and everything. And they tell me I'm hallucinating, but you know. And how I was getting through it was, they call it self-medicating, which means substance abuse. You know, your mother's your best friend, so I used to go to my mother and we would be out there 2 or 3 in the morning with flashlights, her and my father looking all over my back and my arm, trying to see if they could see what I'm seeing, you know. Like I say, I've been married 2 times, and for me to get intimate with my wife, I had to be stoned out to do that, you know, because I was afraid the things that was crawling on me would crawl on her, the same way with the kids, you know. And I still suffer with it to a degree. I get medication for it. Matter of fact, when I talk about it, I feel it now on my back, you know. I'm laughing about it now, but it took a lot of counseling and everything for me to admit to that.
Because I do believe some of those experiences we had will never leave us. We just have to learn how to deal with it. Mm-hmm.
I went to Phan Rang, Vietnam, and I was on, my job there was on airplanes called C-123 aircraft. We sprayed Agent Orange. That's what we did. But at the time, you know, soldiers didn't really know how harmful Agent Orange was. And my job was, you know, we filled the tanks with Agent Orange, make sure the nozzles on the wings are clear, and so the spray can come out. And what we were told, and what we were doing, we were, you know, killing leaves on the trees so the Viet Cong couldn't hide, killing the, you know, rice and all this stuff. But not knowing, to maybe 40 years later, after the war was long over, that I was killing people, killing our own soldiers, killing Viet Cong, and killing me. And I'm still killing people right now. Although the war's been over 50 years, people still dying from Agent Orange. So I'm still killing people. And that really bothers me a lot. You know, not knowing, you know, I sort of understand that the military didn't tell us what the long haul outcome of this thing was going to be. Maybe they knew, maybe they didn't know, I don't know. but it bothers me a lot.
June 5th, 1968, we was running battalion-sized operations, and my platoon, second platoon, was called to set up a position. And this is the confusing thing about the jungles. I thought we was backing back out the way we went in, but what happened was that when my squad was online, we was pushing forward, and you know, with your hands, you're moving the bush out the way, and you're steady moving. And as we coming out the bush, the first thing I noticed was okay. No, they was already up. They was waiting on us. Okay, but it was too quick to react, and I saw the one that shot me. That was the scariest part, because they were just waiting for us to part the bush. And that was the scary part. And before I could say anything, he had to hit about 2 or 3 of us at the same time. Yeah. Yeah, it went down in a blaze of glory.
When I became a dog handler, like, the dog and I became one, you know. And to me, they represented another person, just like another human being. Dogs do wonderful things. They do brave things. They do things that a lot of people don't really realize that they can do, you know. And so what I try to do is bring a lot of that to light and let them know just how valuable these dogs are. I always felt like after the war was over, the dogs got the short end of the stick, because a lot of them were euthanized. They were put down because there was such a surplus of dogs that they didn't know what to do with them in the military. So what they did was they just euthanized about 80% of our dogs, rather than repatriate the dogs and bring them back. So that had me dealing with a lot of PTSD for a long time, and I still go through it right now.
While conducting these interviews, I had a chance to sit down with my father, Major Charles Henry James, and his wife, Jackie, to speak candidly about how PTSD has affected his relationships.
I never anticipated being married to a military man. This isn't the first marriage for either of us.
The effects of Vietnam were tremendous, and sometimes you really don't know them until you get to that point. It kind of make you not trust or want to be with anybody on a permanent basis. But when I saw her, it had all the check marks that I was looking for if I was going to be into another relationship. And so it just dispelled all those rumors that I had about not finding love again or not being in another relationship.
I remember leaving the United States for Vietnam. I remember riding the plane over there. I had a close friend that we left Belgrade together, and we went to Vietnam together. And while we was en route to Vietnam, he asked me one question: who are you going to marry when you get back home? I told him, I said, I'm going to marry Flora. He asked me why. I said, because when I get back home, she'll be waiting for me. When I got back home, the first thing I did, I asked her to marry me, and she did. And we have 2 kids together, 2 grown people now, may I say.
I've had 3 marriages. And all 3 marriages ended up almost with the same thing, you know. I had all these anger management issues. I never knew how to control it.
I blame my first marriage breakup from my Vietnam experience. Because when I came home from Vietnam, I married the girl, my high school sweetheart. And that was a rough thing, that me just coming back from Vietnam, you know what I mean? And so I really believe that's what the cause of that breakup.
I had to do a lot of apologizing to my first wife, my oldest 2 kids, you know, because I remember she said, "You crazy, you crazy, you crazy." We was married, and I didn't understand what she was talking about, you know. And when you mention crazy black man, you think about psychiatrists.
My relationship lasted 10 years with my wife. My PTSD got in the middle of it. It did. They got in the middle of it. God bless that woman for putting up with me. But right today, we're the best of friends, and we raised our daughter. We did.
You know, whoever stumbled in there, I stumbled in there. and they make you feel welcome. You know, there's always food there. Anybody buy you a cocktail if that's what you want. There's great music.
I really never heard about the VFW up here, post 8195, before until 2013, I believe. One of my co-workers joined, and he told me about it, and he invited me up here. So I came up. He loved it, I loved it, and we very, very seldom miss any time up here.
Most of the time, I can't wait for Tuesday to come so we can come down here and share a story with the guys here, because you know, I mean, it's not too many people you could talk to about WASP and laugh about it, you know.
I found out that I was not the only one who was having a lot of anger issues, you know, stress issues, and just being able to collaborate and be able to discuss with a lot of other comrades who were going through the same thing, because I felt I was the only one dealing with it. Didn't know how to handle it. So from there on, getting information from other people, it helped me to take a course of action that would help me to become a little bit more grounded and more understanding.
Look, it's a family. It's a family. We love each other. We can talk to each other about anything. We can laugh, we can cry, and it's all good. Hey, if you cry, you feel so good. You can cry around these brothers, because we all been through some of the same things. We was in the same places. We might not have known each other while we was there, but we were there.
They're also politically involved and socially. When people are running for office, they come there to do debates or to speak to us to get the black vote. They put on political forums. They do the house buying thing for the vets, help them get the VA benefits and stuff. But, you know, it's a wonderful organization. But it's a great social experience. But it's also a lot of serious things go down there, a lot of serious help.
The members of Post 8195 meet regularly to participate in holistic treatments like Reiki and Tai Chi. Tuesday evenings are reserved for group discussions and camaraderie. Visits from local professionals well-versed in veterans affairs help to foster healing.
I'm still in the process of healing. I'm gonna be healing until I leave this world. But if I run into a young soldier, first he got to admit to himself that he has a problem. Then go to the VA. The VA has counselors for PTSD. They have groups for PTSD, groups for the younger guys, you know, from Afghanistan, Iraq, and stuff like that.
We still have a lot of Vietnam veterans out there that hadn't come in yet. I say to younger veterans that what we needed 40 years ago is in place for you now.
If you don't accept the fact that you have it, that you can't be helped. But always check and see if you got it. If you have to come to the VA and tell me you want to see a psychiatrist, do that. But be aware of it. Don't be like we was. Like we walked around with it for years and didn't know.
Don't think of a psychiatrist as a person that you think deal with crazy people. They're those people that can help you. But you have to want to try to be healed and try to be whole again.
And do it for those people that you love and care about. Because if you have PTSD, you have some dysfunctional in your family, either with your children, with your spouse. I would say the average military person, particularly Vietnam, has been married at least once, most of them twice. Go and get the help you need so you can be a functional person in society, and you can also help the family and help those that love you.
What a moving story. And a special thank you to Ms. Ann James for allowing AARP Virginia to share this documentary. And we salute her team as well as all of the Vietnam veterans that were featured in this mini documentary. Everyone has a very moving story. Everyone hopefully is getting connected to someone that can listen to their story and help them along the way. We again here at AARP Virginia hope to see you again very soon. We will wish you the best of great health and also to encourage you to please share this information either on Facebook or YouTube with a friend or a neighbor. Definitely connect with any of the wonderful women that were on the panel today. They have a wealth of information. And again, we hope that you connect with them in the future. Again, I salute all of our Vietnam War era veterans. Thank you to our AARP Community Ambassador, Mike Castillo. And we salute Retired Colonel Mr. Alexander Williams for sharing today. Again, we thank you. Have a good night.